So we have this, the answer given here is EDACB. And again, let's go ahead and see. According to Webb, England already had a military. Already makes me feel that this cannot be opening sentence. Why? Because you must have some reference to justify already. The adverb already, even so, then, they all need references. They cannot be the start of an opening, in the sentence of an opening paragraph. According to Webb, England already had a military imperial policy for more than a century before the American Revolution. So he cannot. Uh, Look at E. A long held view of the history of the English colonies that became the US has been that England's policy toward these colonies before 1763 was dictated by commercial interests, and that a change to a more imperial policy dominated by expansionist military objectives generated the tensions that ultimately led to the American Revolution. So basically, you have introduced what we call as the American Revolution and then the long held view of the history, right? Ah. So, so a long held view, Stephen Saunders Webb has presented a formidable challenge. So not only has this option introduced Webb, but also says that a formidable challenge has been presented to this view. What this view? A long held view. Therefore, ED is a pair. A long held view of the history of the English colonies is that, and in a recent study, Saunders has basically Webb has presented a formidable challenge. What comes next? According to Webb, England already had a military imperial policy. Now, why this already? That means this opinion is different from the opinion given here. Look at this. It says here that a long held view of the history of the English colonies that became the US has been that England's policy toward the colonies before 1763 was dictated by commercial interests, and a change to more imperial policy dominated by expansionist military objectives generated the tension. And then Webb says that in fact they had already a military imperial policy for more than a century. So it's not about just 1763. It's not about just 1763. It says basically that they had imperial policy for more than a century. That means this is basically the formidable challenge. This is basically the view that, so this is a challenge by Webb. So E, D, A is a pair, right? He refers to whom? Charles. And because you have garrison government coming here, you must have B after C. Garrison government allowed the colony. He sees Charles II, the English monarch between 1685, as the proper successor of the Tudor monarchs, right? All of whom were bent on extending centralized executive power over England's possessions through the use of what we have called as garrison government. Garrison government allowed the colonies to legislative. So basically, E, D, A, C, B is the answer. It's a good question, a very long paragraph, and a difficult one too.